topic to Duncan. The other part of what we're doing is working with people who are looking to leverage this technology to create things that don't exist today, to provide access to fractional investments in or fractional ownership rights of certain things. And one observation I would make, and it's taken me a while to get there. I mean, I started Toko, I was a lawyer, and to me, this is about the digitization of rights. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. Tokenization, I think, is now starting to generate a lot of perspectives, and like everything in Web3, NFTs mean 10 different things to 10 different people, and all of these other things. The same is happening with tokenization. To me, this is the digitization of rights. And what we can put in a token is any rights that we used to be able to put in a paper-based contract. And now what the technology is doing, to your question, is what's the value proposition? Yep. Once things are in digital form, you can do different things with them. The analogy I love to talk about is the digital camera, the digital photograph. There are 5 orders of magnitude, so that's 5 zeros, more photographs taken in a year today than were ever taken with film photography. So something dramatic happened. And then we saw, once these things were digitized, entire industries grew. We had social media, we had instant messaging, we had all of the things that we take for granted today just didn't exist when we had photographs in film and we got them printed out at the shop and we'd stick them on our wall. So it was actually what happened next that's, I think, the really exciting answer to the question about what's the value proposition. So once we start digitizing rights, I think we are going to see industries emerging around what can I do with these fractional rights? What can I do with collateralization of them? What can I do with the transferability of them? What can I do with the liquidity of them? And these are big questions. Now, that's a little bit future gazing and it's the proposition, but what we've been focused on is creating valuable, data-rich, meaningful tokens, putting the deal in the token. And so Toko, I was a lawyer and I looked at tokenization activities and I was very disappointed with what was happening on the technology front because they weren't putting the deal in the token. They were creating a digital thing, but there was no real information in there. So we've built a data-rich tokenization engine which allows the deal to go into the token. And that then I think is going to enable people to do things they couldn't do. Now we're launching examples. Mm-hmm. Exciting news for Toko. We've received the first full market licenses as a broker-dealer and exchange operator in the new Dubai Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority this week.
That deserves an applause, by the way.
And thank you to my colleague, Christy Schwartz from DLA Piper, who wrote that law, which we've now got a license over.
Stand up, stand up. Okay.
Now, what we're going to be able to do, this is for people in London or from the US or other markets, we can now create digital security interests and sell them to retail investors. No 12-month lockup, no restrictions. There are obviously rules, but this is a fundamental game changer because the promise of this technology from where I started was, how do we democratize finance? How do people with assets that are currently illiquid or that traditional finance isn't servicing play? How do they participate? Well, the technology allows it. The missing piece has been, do the regulators allow it? And what we're now seeing is this regulatory arbitrage beginning to occur. And so projects we're working on next week, I'm not going to name names, but next week we're announcing a tokenized crowdfunding platform for small to medium enterprise size companies in the Middle East to start doing equity tokenized crowdfunding. We're working with a very high-end jeweler around fractional ownership of high-end jewels, $25 million, 5-carat rare yellow diamonds and things of this nature. And giving people exposure to revenue streams, whether they're earnings or capital appreciation rights through tokens. We're working on, obviously, tokenization of things like funds, tokenization of artwork. So really anything. People say, well, what asset classes? Property, real estate, we're working on lots of those. It's an obvious use case. These large assets that are hard to buy because you need a lot of money to buy them or a lot of external finance to afford them. Again, fractionalization means people can play in smaller bite sizes. And that's where to me, there's been a regulatory impasse with, these things are for professional investors only or institutional investors only. So the technology's allowed the promise and now we're beginning to see the regulatory match up.
Duncan.